Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and welcome to Midday with Reverend Don. And today we're going to talk about more of the things that I'm putting up for sale. I'm perhaps saturating that subject a little bit, but I have only a short time to do this, and so we'll be talking a lot about it this week, and of course other things too. Today I wanted to talk about some of the altarpieces and ritual items that are coming up. And, we didn't want to, hello to Mary in the chat room. And if you're watching, please feel free to comment, ask questions, whatever you would like to do. Just put it into the comment section on whatever platform you're watching on. It will show up in my chat room. And I love to interact with people. We have about a week left for most of the selling, and we must be done by then. There may be a few things after, but mostly that's what we're looking at. So we're going to be hitting it hard. We wanted to wait until after this weekend's telethon. Hello, Renee in the chat room. And, I want to say also I'm very grateful for the support I've received in doing this. I hope people are enjoying the pieces they've bought. Hello, Lilith. And there certainly are more things coming. Again, today we're going to start focusing on more ritual pieces and altar pieces. Hello, Bradley. Also, I will be offering for private auction one of the largest pieces of artwork I've done, which is an interpretation of Nebamun hunting birds. You can find that on my Patreon page, on my personal Facebook page, facebook.com/Rev Don Lewis, and probably a few other places coming up. And this is the wall hanging that's been above my desk for the last 10 years, more or less. And it was a commercial bas-relief that I have extensively altered to make it into a more or less reproduction of the famous tomb painting called Nebamun Hunting Birds. It's inspired by Nebamun Hunting Birds rather than an exact copy. But I think you'll not find a closer one. And I am offering it for sale because I've enjoyed it all these years. Now someone else may do so. If you'd like to make a bid on that, please direct message me. Many of you have already bought pieces of jewelry or books that we've been putting up through the last week. And we're going to be putting up new things this week. And one of the things we're going to be putting up is altar statuary. And I have a piece to share with you now. If you tune into the Daily Spell this evening, we will be doing our little pagan shopping network featuring many of these things. This is an image of the goddess Bast. She is hand-painted by me. Again, it's a commercial image, but hand-painted by me and unlike anything else. And she can be yours if you would like her. She'll be listed on my page later today, and you can see her in the Daily Spell this evening. And hello to Lori and Peggy in the chat room. We also have things like these candle holders. And this is a set of 3 identical blue glass candle holders. Bradley says, oh my goodness, I'm excited about the altar stuff. Thank you, Bradley. It's some very nice stuff, especially the statuary, which is all hand-painted by me, and therefore one of a kind in its present form, even though it may have started life as a commercial piece. These blue pieces correspond nicely to the blue glass chalices that you often see and other items. They would coordinate very nicely with lapis lazuli, and they simply look nice on an altar. And Lori says, cannot wait for the statuary. It's on its way. So we have a number of candlesticks that will be coming. We have this greenstone mortar and pestle. I'm not exactly certain which stone this is. I think it might be, is it serpentine? I'm not certain. It's definitely not malachite, but it is a solid green stone. It's not reconstituted stone or anything like that. Um, and it's a lovely marbled green stone. Very good as a mortar and pestle, um, and very beautiful. It also has a coordinating, um, I guess we'd say, a small surface you can place it on or coordinate with it. There are also greenstone candle holders that will be coming up. And this is the kind of piece that we'll be offering. There are others. Some of them are more ritualistic. Some of them could be home decorating if you chose. And then we also have this handmade doll, handmade witch doll that I did some time ago. And as I'm moving her around, she's getting a little discombobulated, but you can see she has lots of personality. She also has a hat, which you can place on her head or not, according to your choice. And it's meant to be worn slightly at an angle. And because I'm holding her with one hand, I'm having a little difficulty positioning it. Here it is straight on, which you could also do. And she will be part of what we're offering. And I'm going to lay her down. Well, actually, no, I'll show her a little more. The robe is hand painted. All the stars are done by hand. She could probably use a little pressing around the edges. I would recommend doing that through a cloth, simply because of the hand painting. She comes with a stand, and that's where she is. And hello to Raven Wolf in the chat room. Welcome, Raven Wolf. So these are the kind of things that we're going to be looking at later today. I may show them again here in a few minutes. We probably are done with jewelry just for now. There may be more toward the end of the week, but we wanted to get on to the ritual items. There are a lot of sculptures. There are lots of candle holders. There are other things like the mortar and pestle that I showed you. And, oh, not putting my crystal balls in. I'm planning to take those with me. Certainly not my personal athame, but I have a collection of them. There may be others that find their way in. We'll see. But that's coming starting today. And tonight, again, on the daily spell, we will be focusing on these items, and they will be offered. And I'm planning to have them also on my page, but whether that will be before or after the broadcast, I cannot guarantee. But hopefully they will be up before the broadcast. If not, they'll be up tomorrow morning or after the broadcast. So lots of pieces. Most of them are not handy here to show you, but I'm one of those people who likes to have lots of different things on my altars. I don't like them to look the same. And so, for example, the candlesticks that are on the altar in the background will probably be being offered. You can't really see them just at this moment, but they probably will. There'll probably be some incense burners, a wide range of things. And that's where we're at. And again, I want to thank people for their support. I have approximately a week left of this heavy selling. There may be a few pieces after that, but I really need to be done with the bulk of it by then. And we do have the painting. And the opening bid for the painting is $12.99 because it is certainly the largest artistic piece I have ever offered for sale. Hello, Magic. And it will probably be a while before I offer another one like it, if ever. So, so it's there. And I keep looking to see if I have anything else handy to show you ritual item-wise, but not without having to get up and go get it. But there are lots of them that will be shown this evening. And to reiterate what I was saying the other day, I'm not thinking of this as a dispersal of legacy, but rather getting it into the hands of the people who most value it. I was talking with Sir Edward earlier today, and one of the comments that that we were talking, one of the things we were talking about was that if I had actually died in February, chances are this collection would have been dispersed with much less care for where it's going. I'm very pleased to see it going to mostly members of the Corellian clergy who truly appreciate it. That makes me very happy. I don't know what would have happened if I'd actually died, so I kind of feel like it's going where it needs to be, and that that makes it a much more palatable process. And the other thing, of course, is that, as I've remarked, I've carried much of this my whole adult life, and this will, in its way, be very freeing to me to not have to worry about all of these things in the way that I have always before. It will give me a freedom that I have not really known, which also, being retired in office as first priest is giving me a freedom that I have never known before now. Not fully in play yet because I have all of this to deal with, but I plan to focus on writing and teaching and video and these things, which I've always kind of had to make a side project because of the requirements of the office. And they will now take center stage. Not to mention just having a life. Um, so we shall see. We shall see where we go. And and Reverend Ravenwolf asks, "Have you considered Etsy? Possibly, possibly once I've relocated for future things. I have started a Patreon. I'm grateful to those people who have joined my Patreon, and after all of this is finished, it will become much more active, I assure you. If you're interested in my Patreon, you can find it at revdonlewis.com. And among other things, I've moved my Monday night chat to Patreon, where it will continue on a platform that is isolated from possible troll attack, something we'd been beginning to experience again. And many other things will be coming there as well. So a lot of things happening, a lot of things I'm doing. I have numerous books coming soon from CorellianPublishing.com. It's going to be a busy time. But first, I have to do this and become relocated back to Central Illinois and let everything be stable again. So that's where I'm at. What else might we like to talk about in this half hour? We certainly can go on to other subjects. Or I can go back to talking about ritual items. And, I was showing earlier, for those who weren't here, this is a set of blue glass candle holders. It's upside down, I beg your pardon. But as you can see, it looks just the same both ways. If you watch my artwork, you'll see that this resembles candle holders I've often drawn. That's one of the reasons I acquired them. And also, I like to do altars in particular colors for particular occasions. This shade of blue is good for spiritual messaging, for example, good for working with ancestors. It would make a lovely altar for that occasion with a blue altar cloth, perhaps some other blue glass items, perhaps some lapis lazuli. There are 3 matching candle holders like this. They will be up later. There are also other candle holders in other motifs that will be coming up. There are items such as this stone mortar and pestle. Vivian in the chat room. Hello, Vivian. Welcome. remarks that they're beautiful candle holders. Thank you. I think they are. This is a very good mortar and pestle because it is stone, and it is it's not reconstituted stone or anything like that. Hello to Hollis in the chat room, who says beautiful pieces. Thank you. Mary says gorgeous. That's very gratifying. Hopefully people will be interested in acquiring them. And one of the things that makes this nice, again, it's stone. People make mortar and pestle out of all kinds of different things. I've even seen them made of wood. I think some of them work a little better than others. I think this works particularly well. It's one of the many things coming. And then we have the statuary. And I will show Bast again. And this is the Bast that will be being offered this evening. Hello, Brian. Welcome. Hello, Michael. And like most of the statuary, this Bast began as a commercial piece that I completely repainted. And that makes her unique and one of a kind. And Hollis says, please considering adding tags to these as well as the books that note they're from your collection. For the jewelry, I've been including letters of authentication. I will certainly do that for these pieces. I think for the books, I think that if you ask for something, we can accommodate it. Edward is handling the book, so that would be a Sir Edward question. But I certainly will try to do that. And I can certainly include a letter of authentication with these items that we're talking about. I remember painting this, I don't know how many years ago. She features in the original first degree video lessons. If you've seen those videos, not the ones that are more common now, but the first ones from 20 years ago. So she's older than that. And I've had her all this time. And the other pieces are very much like this. They are hand painted. They have been with me for ages. There is a, sitting on the table right now in the studio, there's a goddess Fortuna, who also could be taken as Juno Moneta. There is Athena in her armor. There is, depending on how you look at her, either Isis or Hathor, or perhaps most appropriately, Isis Hathor. There are numerous Isises, actually. There are all kinds of different pieces, statuary-wise, that are coming. Some of them. And Hannah says, the history of your magical life and artwork are important to many of us who greatly appreciate all you have done. And Johannes, I appreciate that very much. I have to say that these last few months have been an interesting lesson in what I have done. And some people have been so appreciative, and that means the world to me, because of course, I did it for you. Most of these things I did not really do for myself. And that also speaks to things like this library. I did not build it, or I did not keep it for myself. Parts of it I may have built for myself, not all of it by any means. So to see it now going to the people it was created for, it's not what I thought was going to happen, but I'm happy with that. To know that people appreciate the things I've done means a lot to me. I've been a little surprised by certain people who have not appreciated things I've done and had reason to, but you learn about people when your situations change. And that too is an important lesson for the future. But what you carry forward ideally are the good things. And I'm very gratified when I see that things I've done are appreciated, that they've helped people, that they've made a difference in people's lives. Because if I were looking for money, this is not the career I would have pursued. My attitude always was, well, I've had that, I've done that. That's not what I'm doing now. Um, I've followed this career for spiritual reasons. I've followed it to make that impact in people's lives. If I were doing it for fame, it's not what I would have chosen because we're a very um, specific community. If I were looking simply to have been well known, this is not necessarily what I would have chosen to do. But that wasn't what I was looking to do either. I was looking to help people spiritually. And so when I see that that occurred, um, that makes me feel very good about the choices I've made. And hello to Dan Spiro in the chat room. So good to see you, Dan. Dan says, this is a very relevant message to me. I'm glad to hear that, Dan. You know, it's the people you touch in life that matter. And the good things that you do that impact others as much as the good things you receive, maybe more, really more. I think that we're here to learn, we're here to experience, but we're also here to lift everyone up. And, you know, I think most people do that in different ways. And of course, we all know there are some people who cannot quite rise to that, but I think that they're on the same journey and will in the fullness of time. Um, and as I look at, so I look at what's happened in my life in the last 3 months, it's not anything I was expecting. Not even within the context of the choices that I made. But I do believe it's what is necessary. It is where I need to be, and it's for the best. And one of the reasons for that is that, so I say, I'm watching people acquire these items who care about them. I've seen many people now mention with the jewelry that they consider them to be heirlooms, as I have always considered them. That they want them for their altars or for ritual use, as I have always looked at them. And that is very heartwarming to me. That makes me believe I did make the right decision. And you know, when in the fullness of time I see people wearing or using these items, that will be very happy making. Oh, and Bradley says, Lord Don, you are so inspiring and you make me want to do better. And thank you, Bradley. That is a very kind thing for you to say, and it means a lot to me. And you know, really, again, that's the reason for this path for me. And Mary says that I have and continue to help her on her path, and that, you know, that's wonderful, and I'm very glad. And Vivian says, I keep telling my kids that life is weird. You think it's going one way and it takes a turn that you weren't expecting. Life is interesting. That's very true. Hello, Anna, in the chat room. And you know, I've said before, even on this program, that when I look back on my life, even the things that seemed like they were terrible mistakes or terrible misfortune turned out to be necessary later. And I certainly am not going to forget that at this point in life. I know that what is happening is necessary and beneficial to me, as well as to seeing these things go where they need to go. And so this is good. Everything in the end, I think, is good, or potentially good. Part of it's what you do with it. I was talking about happiness the other day. I think on this program, as opposed to some other. But it could have been a different one because I've done more than one thing lately. But as I was saying, in whatever it was, I believe that happiness is a state of mind. Happiness is something you find wherever you are. And what's going on outside does not necessarily affect it. No one can make you happy but yourself. No situation can make you happy if inwardly you're simply not going to be. And no situation can take all of your joy if you carry your joy inside. And I was talking in that program In fact, I think it was an interview for a book. And I was talking about Corrie ten Boom, who is an author from the Netherlands, now deceased, I believe, for several years, but she was a victim of the Holocaust in the 1940s. And she wrote the story of her life and her time in the concentration camps, how she survived the concentration camps while her sister died, um, how they got there, and how she survived, and how she found joy in the midst of horror. And in her case, part of what she did is she took joy in the simple signs that life continues no matter what. Things like a spider in its web, um, the sun rising each morning, and um, she found things to rejoice in and be grateful for, and they were there even in that horrible situation. So if someone says they can't be happy, that they cannot find joy, it seems to me that if Corrie ten Boom could find joy in that situation, then you simply need to look harder. Now, that's not to say there's anything wrong with being overwhelmed by your situation and feeling badly. We're human. Um, but we should try not to allow our situations to overwhelm us. We should look for the beauty and the joy that's there, and it will always help. I'm a great believer in the idea of the gratitude list for that reason, that particularly when you're feeling down, but really at any time, you can look at the things in your life that you are grateful for or should be grateful for, and they will always be there, no matter what's going on. Um, there may be other things you're not thrilled with, but if you take time to look at the things that are good, that you are grateful for, it will offset. And I've certainly found this to be true. Um, and I think these are very important aspects of living. Um, the way that I got into that conversation in this interview um, for an upcoming book on pagan elders was I was telling the story of how back in the 1970s, possibly early 1980s. Oh, and hello to Peta, who is joining us from New Zealand. Welcome, Peta. Wonderful to have you here. Um, I was watching the Phil Donahue show, which you have to be of a certain age to know ever existed, I suppose. But it was the forerunner to most issue-driven talk shows. It was a nationwide talk show that explored in a respectful manner all kinds of different issues. It was a very interesting program, and Phil Donahue was a very interesting host. And on this day, um, I'm pretty certain that it was Phil Donahue. Could have been Oprah. She followed much later than he started, but that they were contemporaries for a time. But they had a panel of weight loss guests, one of whom was a fitness expert, who held the point of view that it was completely impossible for anyone to ever be happy if they were overweight. Now, I've always been a larger person, and um, I was not impressed with this message. But as I sat there, I thought, I'd already read this autobiography of Corrie ten Boom. Um, I knew that there are people who deal with disability that have happy lives, that there are people who deal with severe illness and still are happy people. Obviously, this cannot be true, that you cannot find happiness if you're overweight or facing any other great burden that you might feel it to be. Um, because if people can find happiness in those situations, they can certainly find it there and in other places where they think they can't. I have to say, I've never known people with more problems than people who had never dealt with real problems. People who were wealthy and had grown up wealthy, who found very simple things overwhelming because they'd never dealt with them. Um, And at one point, I had some of that myself and probably still do. Um, and Peter says, I used to be a big person, then I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I'm sure and you know, that is a difficult thing to deal with. But there too, I know people with Crohn's disease who lead very happy lives. I know people, one of my very good friends, um, who I used to work with, is a gentleman by the name of Mike Irvin, who is a disability activist and playwright in Chicago. Wonderful man. And his wife, Ronnie Patrick, who is a disability activist. Um, and his late wife, Anna, who was a disability activist. All of them are in wheelchairs. All of them have different disabilities. Mike was a muscular dystrophy poster boy, despised the MDA Association. If you ever heard Jerry Lewis refer to bitter ex-poster children, that was Mike. But he would tell you exactly why, and he was right, because so much of that money was not going to the people it was meant for, and the message was damaging the people it was meant for. Even though, yes, the message needed perhaps to sound dire to raise the money, but it was giving the impression that if you had this disease, you could not have a life, you could not have happiness, you could not live beyond 20. Mike, I believe, is in his 60s. He's doing just fine, and he's been happy as long as I've known him. He's a self-employed playwright. He is highly talented. He and Ronnie are both very happy people. Anna was a happy person. This idea that facing difficulty, especially physical difficulties, means you cannot be happy is simply not true. And if that's not true, other causes of unhappiness need not be true either. So I guess that's my soapbox moment for the day. And I will be back tomorrow. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I will be featuring more items that I'm offering for sale. As I say, this week is going to focus heavily on sale items because this is really my last week for major selling. After that, we'll be packing what I am keeping, donating what I'm not, um, and preparing to make the move. So thank you for watching, and as we always do, we will close with a prayer. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we ask you to be with us and to guide us as we go forward. We rejoice in your presence in our lives. We ask you to help us to always find the happiness which is before us, for we know it is always there. And when we are overwhelmed by our situations, we ask you to tap us on the shoulder and remind us that there is still beauty and still joy and still many wonderful things ahead. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with love and with respect. And may you be blessed now and always. And I thank you, and with much love, may you be blessed until next time, and we will see you then. Vivian says, I love the ending prayer. Thank you, Vivian. I love that. See you next time.